Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and welcome to another live Rockfin exclusive. Today's exclusive is going to be a bit of a throwback. It's a throwback Thursday. We're going to be playing this clip of myself, Alex Jones, 11 years ago. We talk about NLE 09, but more importantly, we talk about the carbon credit system. I mean, we talk about a lot. We talk about false flags. We talk about OKC, all in this like 10-minute clip. But even then, we were trying to expose how the crisis of climate change was, in fact, whoa. See, look at that. Now you're seeing it live, guys. You're seeing it all live. You're seeing it fall apart right here. There we go. The crisis of climate change was being used to bring in a carbon tax credit system. And this seems to be at the focal point of what we're seeing via the Great Reset. And one of the things that we talk about is back in 2009, there was a firm that was converting CO2 into actual energy, storable energy. And I said, if there's anything to that, it's going to be suppressed. And then I thought to myself, wow, I don't remember that at all. I don't remember anybody talking about that. I don't remember that becoming a big thing. I do remember that they're still telling me that I'm bad and I'm using too much carbon and that it needs to be taxed and regulated and that it really is just about control. And demonizing carbon is one of the most absurd things that you could imagine. Before I get to that clip, I want to give a shout out to my youngest sister, Sarah. She just had a beautiful little baby boy. I just looked at some pictures. And obviously another member to the family. It just makes you think, man, time keeps going right into the future. Just boom, boom, boom. When I see this clip of Alex Jones and myself, Jonesy before he's growing facial hair, he's got a little more hair up top, and Jason Burmis with a bunch of black hair and none of these grays popping out. It just lets you know, no matter what, time waits for no man or woman. And Alex shouted me out yesterday via commercial for his supplements. He talked about the Great Resistance. That's step one. The thing is, Jones has a huge audience, right? A massive audience. And if we want the Great Resistance to be successful, we absolutely need Alex Jones and InfoWars to help take the reins of this and get people motivated to go and storm their local governments, right? Yesterday, Staten Island, a place called Mac's Pub, finally stood up to Andrew Capo Cuomo, declared themselves an autonomous zone, and kept their bar and business open. He was arrested for it. What I did like after the fact was that you had hundreds, if not over 1,000 people protesting, and they almost arrested, I believe, one of the senators, New York senators that came to protest with him. And they got him, and his partner was there. But I thought to myself, man, this is in Staten Island. If we had those protesters at the Capitol building, success. That's one business, success. All we have to find is 5-10 business owners in each state and their angry friends and family, and that will be enough. That right there can be enough. So, shout out to Alex for shouting out to me, and I really hope that we're going to get together. I don't like to push these things because it's just not my style. And when I say push these things, it's, I've got the text back. He said he's going to come on the show via Rob Dew, but I haven't heard much since, and I'm not trying to make this about me by any means. I'm trying to make this about you and everybody else getting motivated to take back this country immediately. Acquiesce to nothing. I mean, to nothing. We can't acquiesce to these people. How in the world are we going to just allow them to continue to control our lives? And I just refuse. I refuse. By the way, another shout out there to Rockfin. Obviously, if you're watching this live, you're watching it live and exclusive on Rockfin. They have now added a super chat tip feature. That's pretty awesome. So more and more, that platform is expanding and becoming an avenue for creators to be able to monetize their content, make a living, and not fear the overt hand of big tech censorship. That being said, I can only do this with your help. $5, $10, $15, big donations. They mean the world to me. That's how we do this thing. Yesterday's Rockfin, complete exclusive. I didn't even post to YouTube yesterday. I felt burnt out after that first morning video. Spent some time with the kids. They're upstairs doing their schoolwork right now. We went out, we got the tree. Hopefully later this evening, we're going to be decorating that tree. But I don't know, man. I couldn't do it. Every once in a while, I'm just like, oh, it's so much. It's so much. And I sit there and I watch these hearings that are going on. And then I saw one official saying there will be no end to the conspiracy theorists via this election. And they put witnesses in quotation marks, as if now all the witnesses to any type of fraud or irregularities or illegal behavior are now conspiracy theorists. You know, the guy who works for the post office and drove all of those ballots from Bethpage, New York to Pennsylvania. He's not a reliable source. He's a conspiracy theorist now because he drove a mail truck. That's where we're at in 2020. That's where we're at in 2020. And when we get to this Jones clip, by the way, it starts out with us talking about NLE 09, National Level Exercise 09, which is this terrorist drill where attacks go off. And, you know, we talk about how this is conditioning for the American people. You watched the show yesterday. You know, we talked about a 60-ton military drone, a 60-ton U.S. military drone patrolling the skies of the United States via San Diego to see if we could use it for traffic and speeding. And now they say they didn't do it, but why in the world would you think it's okay to use military drone technology that is used to rain death on civilian populations overseas under the guise of terror? Why would that be a good idea in the United States? I don't think it would be a good idea in the United States. And, I've gotten a ton of DMs about Jones having Stone on, and both of them talking about Bill Barr. Shout out to Steve from Slow News Day for sending me a text. And again, Bill Barr's not your friend. I've never claimed he was your friend. And that's part of this whole hopium thing. That's why I brought up Bill Barr's name specifically when we were talking to Sean Stone the other day, because it's another example where you want to believe that superheroes exist behind the scenes and are going to take down the deep state. And everybody was telling me, you just wait. Oh, Tony, thank you so much for that tip. That's the first tip from Tony Hagar. Yeah. Love it, Jason. Hope you check out my show live at 2 p.m. Tony, I don't know if I'm going to be here and if it's 2 p.m. Eastern or it's 2 p.m. Central, but if I am at my desk and I'm not streaming myself, I will definitely look for your channel as well. I really do appreciate that, friend. Back to what I was talking about here, and talking about how, again, this deep state has been embedded in the system for quite some time. If you were holding on hope for Bill Barr or Durham or trusting any plans, or that Hillary or Obama or Brennan or Clapper or any of the other number of little minions that propagated the Russiagate hoax were going to get frog walked out, or they were going to be taken to Guantanamo Bay, they were going to be tried with treason. No, never. Never, ever, 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 ever. Not by Bill Barr, not by Mr. CIA, not by Bush's attorney general. That's Bush 1, the youngest attorney general of all time. Not by Robert Johnson, not by the Iran cover-up crew, Not by the guy that wrote up the paperwork with Noriega or with Robert Mueller at the time to illegally bring over their former asset Noriega. No, that guy's not going to be here to help you. Okay? And if you're still spouting, Johnny nonsense, like, Steve Pachenik was on Jones's show, and props to Jones for at least calling him out on it, that Joe Biden didn't break his ankle as a feeble old man, and instead he's in some kind of ankle bracelet. Give me a break. Give me a break. Or that the deep state is, using these QR codes and the sting is in. You're not watching these things. You're not watching the hours upon hours upon hours of hearings involving these elections, state to state to state to state. Gritch, thank you so much for the tip. Great to see they added a super chat type thing. Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's so cool. Oh, we have another one? There's a third one? I didn't even see that. Again, we're doing the show here. Terry James, thank you so much. Really appreciate that tip. So, once again, you've got all of this in your face, and you still have those that want to trust the plan. And you still have those that would take advantage of good people, right? Take advantage of good people and offer them a solution that's not real. And that's what Pachenik's doing. And who he's doing that for, I don't know. Why he's doing it, I don't know. But, when Jones calls him out on it yesterday, or 2 days ago, I'm sorry, he goes, well, what's the alternative, Alex? And I go, well, the alternative is the truth always. No matter how dark, no matter how wretched, no matter how insurmountable it may seem, the truth is the truth is the truth is the truth is the truth, and you don't get to pick. You don't get to pick. You don't get to promote false narratives that fit an agenda in order to control people, whether they are well-intentioned or not. Period. No, 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 and no. Richard Grove, thank you so much. Richard Grove, also going to be a part of the Rockfin. I know that he just had his conversation with Jamie and the guy, so hopefully within the next week we're going to see Richard, Andrew Grove, and Tragedy and Hope on here. He's got Grand Theft World going on right now, which is a great little compilation show of not only other people's clips, but then more documentation to back up what people are talking about. And shout out to Luke Radowski. Luke was just over on Timcast IRL in real life. I didn't catch really a lot of it. I caught like the first 5 minutes of it last night after I saw it was posted. And I intend to catch that. That's great. I think Tim needs to do more of that, especially with people that are on the chopping block and could be disappeared by YouTube at any given moment. I don't agree with everything Tim Pool has to say. I don't agree with a lot of what Tim Pool has to say. Smart guy, though. Well-spoken. A journalist on the ground. Way better than mainstream media. Willing to engage in conversations. Willing to have a guy like Alex Jones on there. Richard Andrew Grove says, Jamie was awesome. Thanks for the hookup. I'll make you proud. You've already made me proud, dude. Rainbow High, thank you so much. I appreciate you. So, moving on, if you are here watching this live on the Rockfin, then you already know the deal. We're doing it 11 a.m. Monday through Friday for free. Yesterday's a complete exclusive. I didn't pop any of that over to YouTube, but I think that I'm going to pop this one in full over to YouTube because we're really only going to talk about one subject today, and that's going to be this throwback video. Plus, on top of that, I intend to do other content on YouTube today. I don't want to get all caught up in my family life and that sort of thing because then I get too far away from this. But then sometimes I feel like I get too far involved in it and everything else is just a blur. And, again, there's a new, I guess the baby's last name is McShine. It's not Burmis. Obviously it's my youngest sister. And, man, my youngest sister's my half-sister. She wasn't born until I was 16 years old. This is literally the infant that I saw grow up as I was an adult. And now my little baby sister, I mean, it's hard to believe, but, she got a baby of her own. Just shows you, man. Circle of life. So if you are watching this on the replay, again, make the free account. What are you waiting for? By making the free account, you come join us live. There's now a tipping mechanism over there. Jamie, thank you so much. He's the man. Thank you so much, Jamie. Jamie, I got another creator on the wait list. He might be somewhere in the emails, but I'm going to hook you up on a DM, Paul Wittenberg. I did his show yesterday. That's going to be a Rockfin exclusive. In fact, I'm going to be posting that exclusively to Rockfin later today. Wittenberg, I believe he's the one that did What in the World Are They Spraying? Okay. And we had a great conversation yesterday. He does a great podcast. And like I said, I'm going to be posting that exclusively to Rockfin. Another big reason to make that free account here today. Judy, she tips $5. Thank you so much. Love your honest work, Jason. Not always 100% in agreement, nor you should be. I make mistakes. I want some other insight. Okay? I'd like to think I'm right a lot of the time, or most of the time. And I'd like to think that I don't present things that I don't believe, but I ain't Jesus Christmas. I'm not some omnipotent figure that gets it all right, right? We need other views. But you have never failed when others have. When others have. Thank you. Well, I try not to, for sure. For sure. I mean, we're trying not to fail anybody here. I want to remind everybody, I'm a documentary filmmaker, Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defied, and Shade the Motion Picture. You know, Jones, during his program yesterday, he was discussing this quotation from Bill Gates where he's talking about depopulation, and he's talking about carbon, and he's talking about this mathematical equation that's magically, going to bring us to zero carbon, the big talking point. Net zero carbon. Net zero carbon. An impossibility. You could never have net zero carbon because what? Plant life needs carbon to live. They need carbon dioxide. And if you think that you're going to have a 1-to-1-to-1-to-1, you're never going to have that. But you do already have a pretty great equilibrium on this planet. And like I said, we're going to play this clip. And, you're going to have to make your own decision here on how you feel about me and Jonesy talking about this. But we're going to do it live. And when we get to that energy source I was talking about, we're going to look it up and we're going to see where it went, because I think it's extremely interesting. But without further ado, here are Jones and I 11 years ago. Oh, of course. Why would we actually be there? Hold on, folks. Don't worry. We do it live. Desktop not available. Yes, it is. Oh, you're there. Boom. There she is. And we talk about this energy source. We talk about false flag terror. We talk about Oklahoma City. We talk about the Knights of the Secret Circle. And we're going to back up everything we talk about. Here we go.
But when you go 1 millimeter into these drills, it's for the American people.
It's absolutely for
because
the American
they know the foreign banks are stealing everything. They've got to test martial law to make sure the theft continues.
And, in this, they say that, the attacks may actually happen, that they're not all going to be preventable. And remember, this starts off with a mock terrorist attack in a separate nation.
And the last time I saw them really gearing up with this big of drills was right before 9/11.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've had the CFR say, Gary Hart and Rudman that kind of write the plans for this, going, after 9/11, America will be hit. Denver, Cleveland, Dallas. He said Denver, Cleveland, Dallas, and one other place. And the audience of the CFR was going, we're being let to know. Knowing the slave public didn't understand what was being said. So watch it when it really happens, that they don't hit the very targets they listed.
Just to discuss Gary Hart really quick, a different time in politics. His career was kind of derailed. And by the way, Rich, thank you so much. And Ariel, thank you so much. We'll read those in a second. His career was kind of hit and derailed during a scandal where when you were cheating on your wife, it mattered, right? It actually mattered in the 80s and the early 90s. Gary Hart is also the person that's featured in the Alex Jones film and one of the very first people that I had ever seen use the term New World Order post-Bush 1 era. And it was kind of chilling. I remember watching 9/11 The Road to Tyranny and watching this guy, Gary Hart, say post 9/11, this is a great opportunity to carry out what Bush's father, because Bush was in office at that time, had said. And he said, I believe only once. Bullshit. And he knew it wasn't only once, by the way. The media maybe only hyped one of the times that he set it up. But the truth is, we all know that Bush went on a New World Order tour. A literal New World Order tour. You think I'm wrong? You think I'm making that up? Go check out Invisible Empire and New World Order Defined. We have an entire section on George Bush and his New World Order tour. Clips that are available nowhere else. Nowhere else. Because back before the C-SPAN archive was available online, you had to go fish out the DVDs from transcripts that you were barely able to find. And that's how I did it. And I watched countless video on it. Okay?
Yeah.
And then go, oh, my God, I guessed it perfectly. Who would have thought? You know, kind of like the brother of Governor Keating in Oklahoma a year before writes a book called Final Jihad, where a Tom McVeigh bombs the Alfred P. Murrah building.
Yeah, it's the Oklahoma City building, and then they dedicate it to the Knights of the Secret Circle.
Yeah, the book says Knights of the Secret Circle.
Yeah.
Which is an Illuminati group.
And then Keating gets on television the day of the attacks and admits that there's multiple bombs in the building and that the bomb squads are there and that this must be a very sophisticated group.
Now, a lot of people will say, Jason, that's a little far-fetched. That obviously could not be the case. There's no way that you had the governor of Oklahoma City come out and say that there were bombs in the building at Oklahoma City that day, right, Jason? Oh, they did it. Oh, they did it. I promise you they did it. And not only did they do it, you can watch some of those bombs actually being taken out of the building. And there's McVeigh in a military... And that's him right there. This is Keating. And there's the bombs. You can't see it because I have the wrong screen up, but you're going to see it. So this is a section from Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, which is free. Now, the reason we're playing this, again, is because I want everybody to understand that I'm not just making this up. So now we're going to play this little section here on Tim McVeigh and what we just told you 11 years ago. That little clip was actually before we put out Invisible Empire and New World Order Defined.
That Timothy McVeigh was a right-wing extremist who bombed the Oklahoma City building with a Ryder truck because he was upset with the government. People close to the event told a very different story.
A local congressman believes that convicted bomber Timothy McVeigh and his accused co-conspirator Terry Nichols are not the only ones involved.
The Oklahoma State Representative Charles Key produced a videotape featuring witnesses who claim to have seen Timothy McVeigh with another man the morning of the bombing.
He was wearing a ball cap. Timothy McVeigh had his on backwards, which just like this. It was on his head. The other gentleman had his on like this.
In fact, the FBI had actively pursued John Doe No. 2 in its initial investigation, then denied his existence altogether. There were also multiple reports that explosives were found inside the Murrah building.
And this is the problem for YouTube. Taking down my content, I use authoritative sources. That's the FBI sketch. We're going to show you the real eyewitnesses. We're going to show you the local newscasts. We're going to show you Keating talking about the explosives in the building.
The Justice Department is reporting that a second explosive device has been found in the AP Murrah building in downtown Oklahoma City. Mike, you're still with us, aren't you?
Yes, I am, and I might tell you in addition to that, that in fact what we were told at the scene a few minutes ago was that in fact 2 different explosive devices were found in addition to the one that went off.
The second explosive was found and defused. The third explosive that was found, and they are working on right now as we speak, I understand, both the second and third explosives, if you can imagine this, were larger than the first.
Bomb squads were actually caught on video pulling into the building to retrieve these devices.
They'll back that trailer down there, and the bomb squad folks will go in, and they will use that trailer. You see the bucket on the back there, this is how they would transport the explosive device away from this populated area to try to do something with it.
I just took a look down the street at the Murrah building again. I see another bomb truck going, so apparently they're going to try to get out that third bomb that's been talked about.
This was even confirmed by the governor at the time, Frank Keating.
One device was deactivated. Apparently there's another device, and obviously whatever did the damage to the Murrah building was a tremendous, very sophisticated explosive device.
Members of the ATF who would have normally been in the building were tipped off prior to the bombing.
He saw what appeared to be a police bomb squad truck near the Murrah building 2 hours before the blast.
It had a shield on the side of the door, and it said bomb disposal or bomb squad below it, and I really found that interesting.
Another witness who spoke to ABC News on the condition of anonymity will tell the grand jury tomorrow he was told by an ATF official agents working in the building had been warned in advance not to come to work.
He just came out and told me that the ATF wasn't in the building that day. They'd been tipped by their pagers not to come to work.
Tipped by their pagers not to come to work. And yes, that was done under the guise of a drill. Why else was the bomb squad truck there 2 hours earlier? But Jonesy must be nuts. That's why we got to deplatform him. We got to deplatform Jones. Before we go back, I want to read Ariel Castro's super chat if I can scroll back through here. It says, thanks, Jason. When you have some free time, check out arielente.com. I'll send you an invite to be on my show in the future. Much love. Sure thing, Ariel. I would love to do that show for you. For sure. All right, let's continue on.
But it never happened. You see, 24 hours later, all that stuff was retracted, and it was the writer's.
No, they didn't retract it. They said, we're not going to discuss that. But, keep telling folks about National Level Exercise 2009.
Well, I just think that this is completely insane because the private organizations they're going to use in this drill are the same private organizations they're using right now to spy on you and declare immunity, like AT&T when we had that whistleblower say, hey, man, I was setting up the computer in the secret room. I was running the Ethernet line, and they were doing a hard copy of every single email, every single IM, every single phone call you had. It's right here. And then he brings a lawsuit against them, and all of a sudden they're like, no, national security, you can't declare a lawsuit. You're not allowed to sue the government. And then the Obama administration, because this happened under the Bush administration.
They say we're going to allow it to continue.
Yeah, and we're not only going to allow it to continue, I think we're going to expand it.
Yeah.
And it's going to get a little bit bigger.
And the left goes, you're just racist. And we go, no, we didn't like Bush doing it. We're against the police state. And they literally go, shut up, Klansmen. And we go, you're the one injecting. They're the ones injecting race. They want to divide and conquer.
Absolutely.
And it's shameful. We'll cover more of that when we come back.
And talk about injecting race these days. And by the way, a lot of people out there think that Snowden was the one to blow the whistle, that the United States was spying on every piece of digital communication out there. You just heard me say it in 2009. You just heard me talk about Hepting versus AT&T. You just heard me discuss the secret server rooms. I'm not that smart, okay? But you say what you want. Jones isn't wrong when InfoWars was the tip of the spear, putting that type of information out, period. Look at that young Jason Burmis. Look at that young kid, trying to spit truth.
It is the Burmy Hour, theinfowarrior.com.
And check out theinfowarrior.com for some new Bobby bloggins.
Survivalistseeds.com.
Survivalistseeds.com.
You can now
folks.
grow your own healthy survivalist seed. Get 6,000.
Talked a little bit about NLE09. I kind of wanted to shift gears to some of this climate change stuff that we talked about earlier, because right here out of Gizmodo, apparently Singaporean researchers at the Institute of Bioengineering and Nanotechnology have devised a way to convert carbon dioxide, the evil carbon dioxide.
That's terrifying.
It really is. I lose sleep at night.
No, there's like literally scores of video games that are free on Nickelodeon online and on TV everywhere for kids, different companies, where it's climate monsters, climate blobs, carbon dioxide monsters. And kids in America are now scared of carbon dioxide. They don't understand it's what they breathe, it's what plants breathe.
Yeah.
They don't understand that humans breathe it in and then exhale carbon dioxide that plants breathe, that humans breathe oxygen. And I believe that if they're able to sell this, they're next going to declare that oxygen is bad. Well, no, I mean, it's light, water, carbon dioxide, and oxygen are the four parts of the carbon cycle. But anyways, go ahead.
Well, they said they've been able to convert carbon dioxide into clean burning biofuel, methanol, using
methanol. So let's do that. Let's do it live. And listen to what I say here before we do it live.
Safe, non-toxic process. Has mankind defeated the final boss of global warming? If this has any truth to it, this will be suppressed like no other. They don't want to let you know that carbon dioxide might actually be used as an energy source.
So let's do it. Methanol, CO2 as methanol. This is an article that article was 11 years ago. CO2 converted into methanol. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. Molecular catalyst converts carbon dioxide to methanol. That's 10 years later at nature.com. 10 years later. How come this wasn't fast-tracked? They can't tax you on this. This is an actual solution. It's just like people were like, oh, Jason, you're talking about steroids for COVID-19. And I go, yeah. And they're like, well, if there's any truth to that, we're going to find out in the next couple weeks. No. They decided long before the crisis was even in full effect what would be the authoritative treatments for it. They decided what the push would be. They have no interest in what actually works. Okay? No interest whatsoever. Let me just click on this random article here. Molecular catalyst converts carbon dioxide to methanol. A molecular catalyst dispersed on carbon nanotubes has been found to catalyze the electrochemical conversion of carbon dioxide to methanol, a liquid fuel and industrial useful bulk chemical. How about that? Wow. Making renewable energy out of the great demon. But why, again, aren't you hearing this in the mainstream media? Why isn't it on the mainstream news? Because the agenda is about control. The agenda is not about saving the planet at all, not even a little bit.
The larger issue is they cynically brag, and we've made films about this, Endgame and others, that it's all phony.
Yeah.
And I keep saying this, but you got to tell other people, folks, because this is happening. All the real environmental crises that are going on, all the real things that genetic engineering, the toxic waste dumping, overfishing, there is a lot of serious things that are happening, and they need to rotate the seas. They need to, let it, be left fallow like a field for a while.
How about this story? Tons of released drugs taint U.S. water. That's a real crisis. I mean, they're finding all sorts of stuff in the water.
Well, they're also finding it in water supplies that aren't connected to runoff from human sewage, so it shouldn't have Prozac, and it shouldn't have estrogen-mimicking drugs from birth control in it, but it does, and it's devastating plants, animals, alligators, frogs.
You see that right there? Frogs, alligators. This is before the big meme. I don't like them turning the frickin' frogs gay. So if you hear Alex talk here, it's not as sensationalized. It is about those estrogen mimickers. And it is also about things beyond frogs. And just Jones is dead on here. And he's so much more eloquent. Props to Jonesy, dude. Like I said, we may have our differences. We may not agree. I've obviously taken my shots here and there on certain issues. But I've always said thank you for mentoring me. I've always said thank you for giving me this opportunity. And when the man is right, he is right. And what we are discussing here 11 plus years ago, is real.
Other animals, and this has been going on, and we'll go ahead and read the article, but then I'm going to get into the environmental.
It's just no big deal. They have legally released at least 271 million pounds of pharmaceuticals into waterways that often provide drinking water.
And it goes on to say the government doesn't want to discuss that. Oh, God. Because also the phony environmental movement gives cover to all the real environmental crises. Mm-hmm. And so all these environmental, new cult members, because everybody wants a religion, they can follow the phony environmental cult and then never actually focus on the real issues.
Exactly. And they're talking about one major manufacturer, Pfizer Incorporated, acknowledged that it tested in some of its wastewaters, but outside of the United States. See, it's okay to poison people outside of the United States and South America, Alex.
No, this is going on in the U.S.
Yeah, of course it is. They just want to deny it for the U.S. media.
Wait a minute. You've got an article where they're denying it?
Well, Pfizer's saying they do it, but they don't do it in the United States.
Wait a minute. You can Google drugs in U.S. water supply. Mm-hmm. There's been literally thousands of articles. Dallas was so high that it was many, many times higher than it could have possibly been from runoff from sewage. Impossible. They're putting it in there. Now they've proposed, you're finding out about it. We want to put Prozac in the water. Mm-hmm. We want to put statins for your cholesterol in the water.
Mm-hmm.
I have mainstream clips saying that.
It reminds me of the movie Grosse Pointe Blank with John Cusack and Dan Aykroyd.
And I love Grosse Point Blank to this day. I know that a lot of people don't like John Cusack, because he's just too left and too liberal. But I got to tell you, I like the Cusack. I do. I don't agree with a lot. But the movies Grosse Point Blank and War Inc., which also feature Dan Aykroyd, they're fantastic.
These two assassins, these black ops guys, it's kind of a comedy. But they meet each other in a diner, and Aykroyd offers him a bunch of pills, to ease the pain. And he's like, no, I'm off that stuff. He's like, why? They're going to be pumping this stuff into the water in another 5 years anyway in masses. It's already happening. And, they just kind of laugh about it.
When did that movie come out?
That was back in mid-'90s. And it's all about basically a black ops assassin a contract killer going back to his high school reunion 10 years
I
later.
always thought that was just Hollywood conditioning us, and some of it is, I've confirmed, but now that I know a lot of Hollywood people, and I mean a lot, they're actually all into this before I was even into it. So they're kind of slipping it in there.
Yeah.
But listen, let me get into the whole eugenics angle. Fatties cause global warming. I mentioned this earlier. The rising number of fat people was yesterday blamed for global warming. Now, again, the ocean is partly made up of carbon dioxide. That is more than all the plants, all the humans, all the everything. It's like when they say animals' flatulence, like cows didn't exist before as buffalo and as water buffalo and things. Again, it's just insane. The rising number of fat people was yesterday blamed for global warming. Scientists warn that the increase in big eaters means more food production, a major cause of CO2 gas emissions. And last year I had that big environmentalist on, big prize winner from England. He was saying we need food rationing for everyone and water rationing. So, see, the governments are getting you ready for this, but they'll sell you. It's just for those fat people. Come on, you're better than them.
And the thing is with the fat people, don't get me wrong, there's overeating for sure, but especially 11 years later, we know a lot more. And it's the diet. It is the heavily processed foods. It is the heavily sugared foods. Back in 2009, there were still people arguing over things like the Atkins diet. And certainly, the keto diet was not as popular. No one was even talking about the carnivore diet. But I know that you people out there, just like me, have seen unbelievable results from some people that eat as much as they want. They just could cut out the carbs, the sugar, the processed foods. And not all the carbs, by the way, just certain ones, or they limit them extremely. And I've seen it have huge impacts on people's weight and their daily life. But again, you're bad. You eat too much. You need to be regulated. Remember, the Agenda 2030 Great Reset model is you won't be eating anywhere near as much meat in only 10 years. It'll be a treat. Because they know meat is good for you. They know it builds big, strong muscles. They know it has incredible nutritional value. But no.
And then look at this you were telling me about today, Burmas. Reuters, EU closes a climate loophole for car air conditioners. First when their patent runs out on the COCs, they then come out with the new patents, and then right after then they push, for the Earth, it's eating the ozone layer. We got to have this new one. Well, now that patent's running out. So now they're going to have a new one that works even worse, or they're saying no air conditioners at all. The European Union has closed a loophole that would have allowed car manufacturers to continue putting climate-damaging chemicals in air conditioners of new vehicles beyond 2011. Ban, a commission document showed. The move opens up a new market for greener refrigerants, which they just now patented, with industry giant Honeywell International pitching its HFO-1234YF coolant against rivaling carbon dioxide-based systems. So before it was another chemical eating ozone, now...
And that chemical was CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. Okay, that was the main push via global warming before it was climate change when I was a kid. We were all worried about hairspray and CFCs and the hole in the ozone layer and how we were all going to die and how it was going to get so hot and these holes were irreparable. All that stuff was the main promotion to my generation in the late 80s, early to mid 90s. It didn't flip the script really till late 90s. I mean, they talked a little bit about carbon dioxide, but it certainly wasn't the main thing, okay? And then it just completely changed, and that was the new narrative.
It's carbon dioxide that plants breathe. You've got to ban that one, such as Austria's Oberst Engineering. Okay, so there's the scam right there, ladies and gentlemen. Burmis, you have comments on this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, one of the big things that we cover on this show, and one of the big things that we can still make a difference, everybody's out there, well, how can we win? How can we make a difference? We can say no to the carbon tax, Alex. I mean, they are putting legislation in.
And by the way, they're doing it now.
Yeah, it's in legislation
and folks, it's hundreds of things. And I want to explain to people. Well, I mean, go ahead and finish your point. Then I have the key point for everybody, and I know you probably already know what I'm about to say, but maybe some of you don't. We got to get this info out to people now, but go ahead.
Well, already a large climate bill with literally hundreds of other bills attached has been passed by the United States. Very broad. It talks about carbon's emission system. It doesn't get into the tax, but they are trying to pass tax laws now. So what you have to do is get a hold of your local legislators and say, look, we want legislation saying that we're not going to pay a carbon tax.
What? No. I mean, they had the leader of the Republicans on. And the strange thing is the New York Times linked to the YouTube video, and it says Infowars.com at the top. We're just getting out everywhere. But side issue, the point here is that the leader Republican of the House, he said, well, it's almost laughable to say that it's a carcinogen and deadly poison.
And that's it. It actually clips there. But, you know, I hope you guys are enjoying it. You know, here it is. So again, molecular catalyst converts carbon dioxide to methanol. Over 10 years ago. Guys, I didn't even have braces to do my teeth back in that video. Think about how long ago that is. Think about that flowing black locks that I had. Look at Jones. He doesn't look much like a sea captain there, does he? It's old. It's old. So, guys, I do think I'm going to clip this one in full and throw it over onto YouTube so people get a sample set of what we do here exclusively at the Rockfin. And again, Jamie, Martin, the crew behind the scenes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me a platform that empowers me through technology instead of enslaving a public through censorship. And now with the tips, I mean, that's awesome. That's so awesome, guys, that you can now tip on here like a super chat. You guys came through on that. That's so cool. You can support me as well over at the GoFundMe. If you are watching this and you don't have the Rockfin account, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Make the free account. Join us at 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. Yesterday's is still a full exclusive. I'm going to leave that up for free another 24 hours so that if you watch this one and you want a reason to make that Rockfin account, now's the time for premium members. Later today, I will be uploading exclusively to this my interview with Paul Wittenberg, and I hope that you check that out as well. We try to do all this content at some point for free, for sure, and Paul's going to be putting it out on his platforms as well, so if you want to find it free, you can find that feed free somewhere as well. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. If you're not a member of the Burmis Brigade, come on over. Come on over. We're 59,000 plus strong. We'd like to hit 60,000 before they try to arbitrarily get rid of us. And if you've never seen Invisible Empire before, you just watched a clip of it earlier via the Alfred P. Murrah building, via Oklahoma City. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You want my big picture, New World Order, globalism film, Invisible Empire is it. You want something a little bit more modern that discusses globalization, please check out Shade the Motion Picture. If you're unaware or you think you have a good beat on what you think happened on 9/11, Loose Change Final Cut and Fabled Enemies will totally and completely change your worldview on that event. I promise you. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I absolutely love you, and I'll see you on the flip side.